You're looking for part two. We'll give you part two.
I'm back in H Mart and Seablings are cooking Korean.
I'm in Asian people's business again.
So Southeast Asians are beefing with South Koreans. And as a South Korean, when I hear you guys say, oh, Koreans are racist, capitalist, greedy, class obsessed, starved for white attention, Western attention, pick-me-shas, obsessed with money, obsessed with power, obsessed with climbing the political and social and work ladder. We consider ourselves supremacists. We are better than everyone. Our music is better than... We're better at everyone else at taking the American ideals of greed and unfettered capitalism and completely losing our souls. So much so that we have let our country be taken over by corporations and conglomerates that run... Corporations like Samsung and LG completely run the country and the nation. And that's why our presidents have always been crooks and criminals. And that's why some of them even unalive themselves and bring in witches into the Blue House. You know what I say as a Korean? You're right.
I want to talk about the Seablings versus Korea from the unique perspective of being half Filipino, half Korean. I know I've been gone for 3 weeks. I was on a trip with my boyfriend, very limited service, and then I got very sick. I'm still clearly very sick. If you don't know, the controversy is Korean fans were in Malaysia for a Day 6 concert. Day 6 is not K-pop, they're more of a K-band. Incredible live vocals. Anyways, everyone's saying they're K-pop, that's not true. Koreans brought in large cameras that weren't allowed. Malaysians called them out. Koreans very quickly resorted to like racism, xenophobia, classism, colorism, etc. What I'm hearing a lot of people say is like, oh, Koreans are just like this. But I kind of want to talk about the history a little. Like the worst part of like Korea's personality as a country is the US imperialism of it all. The importing of US ideology through Korea being a US military stronghold. Like literally the importing of US beauty standards by a white doctor, or like K-pop culture vulturing and then exporting their product. And this applies to all kind of US imperialism in Korea, from like Christianity, where Korea's like, okay, we're gonna make crazy cults, even to like food. I'm a little high, so food sounded good. Okay, I'm making ravioli. Anyways, this US imperialist ideology gets amplified by Korean Han, which if you don't know is like Korean feeling of like a deep like unresolved trauma and like grief from like all the colonization that happened to Korea. So Koreans will like take a fight from 0 to 100 immediately. We call it like K-rage in like America, or maybe in Korea too, I guess. Even when they're wrong, even when a Korean person's wrong, even worse when a Korean person's wrong, will they go into like K-rage and like the Han will come out. And that's what we saw. We saw Koreans who were in the wrong go 0 to 100. And being half Korean, half Filipino, like I'm so familiar with seeing how a lot of Koreans, you know, their perception of Southeast Asians. But being Southeast Asian, like being Filipino, the whole thing of like also being under the thumb of Western colonization and imperialism, like we've had to develop just the best comedy chops to, in essence, like deal with this abuse. Like we are seeing Korea now essentially colonize the Philippines, like in real time. Like I just went on a cruise and it actually just like, it's like, I would say like 80% of the crew was Filipino, and I kind of knew that was going to happen, but I didn't really know until I was there. And the feeling of being surrounded by so much community on the high seas, I'm getting sidetracked. I want to talk about the cruise in another video. But that's why like Seablings can just be Shakespearean with their insults. Because in the end, Korea almost has like big brother, little brother syndrome, where like their big brother is really strong. And so when their big brother does like, you know, is a bully and punches someone, Korea thinks that they can do that too. But like the US will not back up Korea in this. And when they do, like all the white people who were racist to Southeast Asians got eaten up as well. Because when you are the people that are constantly looked down upon, it's like baked into your DNA as to how to react.
I want to weigh in on this beef between Southeast Asians and Koreans. And many of you know I'm half Black and half Korean. I was born there, lived till I was 12. And my mom and my grandma gave me up for adoption to America because of the racism. So to my fellow Koreans, y'all need to knock that shit out. I mean, historically, Koreans have always been racist and homogenistic. So there was, I think after the Korean War, the president wanted the country to be racially pure. So there were a bunch of us mixed babies left by American GIs in Korean society. And there's an adoption agency, Holt. I forgot their first names, but it was a husband and wife, and they were missionaries, and they started arranging for adoptions of these mixed babies to America. And in doing so, they allowed for adoptions of about 250,000 of us. And many of those children were actually full-blooded Koreans because the demand for these babies just got bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, American consumerism. So they started like stealing babies to adopt them to America. So the parents, I mean, again, after the war, the entire country is impoverished. Parents can't afford to take care of their kids. And they had a system where they could bring them to the orphanage for a few months. I think 6 months was the limit. And then they had to come back and claim their kid after they got their life together, right? But many of these parents were told that the kids were just gone. Like they said, either the kids ran away or they died if they were babies. And they created false records for the adoptive parents. So all of that is coming to reckoning. And there's a lot of different things Korea as a nation has done historically that was humanically just messed up. So you would think the young people now benefiting from Black culture and other cultures like as a whole, they would just be a little bit softer. But apparently they're not. I'm so embarrassed. I don't even know the exact details of what they did with this concert, bringing extra equipment and stuff when they shouldn't have. And I don't know and I don't care. I just know that if we're generalizing, Korean people as a whole are racist as fuck. And we all just need to quit it. You benefit from Black culture, like, I don't know, for like decades and decades. I mean, who owns the Korean beauty supply stores and who buys the beauty supplies? I mean, are you serious? Do you know that back in the day, before these beauty suppliers were mostly Korean, they would go through the villages in Korea, buy the hair from the girls, and come to America. And while the banking system wouldn't give American Black folks loans to open businesses, but they gave it to the Koreans because Koreans were always kind of that model minority thing. And it's really not the model minority where they're just classy and listen to everything. They're just conniving. They're just, they're talking about you. They're talking shit. If you're an American person that thinks Korean people are the best or the classiest of all the Asians, they're just the best at like pretending and talking behind your back and using you for what you're bringing to the table, like Black culture. So whatever this beef is, I don't know the gist of it. I don't care. Koreans need to just quit it.
Koreans are racist, full of plastic, and they don't even speak English. That's what you want to hear, right? Yes, I'm Korean living in Thailand. I love Thailand. I love Southeast Asia. I respect culture, food, language, and the differences. And yet, I get attacked, not for what I did, but simply being Korean. Insults that have nothing to do with who I am as a person. This is not about Korea. This is not about Southeast Asia. This is about where you choose to place your attention. When you focus on growth, kindness, and understanding, your life becomes brighter. But when you constantly feed your mind with the anger and negativity, that's all your reality becomes. I don't live in a victim mindset. I choose to live as a creator. Most people are kind. Most people are respectful. One ignorant person's actions do not define entire people. It's time to stop turning individual mistakes into collective hatreds. Let's stop this and choose the humanity instead.
Yo, so apparently Korea is beefing with all of Southeast Asia. And all this because some South Korean K-pop fans weren't allowed into some venue with professional grade cameras. But on behalf of Korean people, I am so sorry. I love Southeast Asia. I love Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines. I love you all. Because Southeast Asia has such good food, the people are great, the culture is awesome, there's lots of things to do, lots of places to go and see. And I bet the Koreans that were trolling Southeast Asia were those that have like never been outside the country. So please don't ban Koreans from coming because we love you guys. Let's settle the beef, forgive and forget. And let's just go out and eat together because one thing we can all agree on is we love good food.
So the Southeast Asians and South Korea is getting into it right now. South Koreans tried to get into like a Southeast Asian show with a professional grade camera and they were not allowed in. It went from South Koreans victimizing themselves and wondering why they weren't let in the venue, from that to South Koreans are the superior race. Baby, they started tearing Twitter to the floor. Southeast Asians are fed up and they're tired of South Korean shit. I learned something new today because I didn't know that there was so much racism between these different Asian countries. So Southeast Asians and East Asians do not like each other at all for those reasons. Probably some other stuff too. South Koreans had the nerve to talk about Southeast Asians' looks, but they are #1 in plastic surgery. I think it looks pretty good, but I don't know. South Koreans were making fun of the Southeast Asians because of their naturally darker skin complexion, even went as far as to comparing them to monkeys. Sounds familiar. Southeast Asians called South Koreans way too whitewashed. Southeast Asians let them know, hey, you're tan too, allegedly. Too busy trying to conform to and impress the white people over here in America. Seeing the difference between K-pop and Southeast Asians' version of that, they might not be wrong. Southeast Asians even went as far as to talk about South Korea's low birth rate and their grape culture. Turns out South Korea is heavily misogynistic and grape often goes unpenalized, allegedly. Southeast Asia even took it a step further to talk about South Korea's suicide rates. It's getting messy. Looks like Southeast Asians have been putting up with this discrimination for a long time and they are fed the fuck up.
For the people who are in denial about K-pop appropriating Black culture, right? The K-pop fans, I don't know. Something is very special with you, and I really want to know what type of la la land you be in, because like your country's racist. Okay, everybody, like we all understand that now, especially with this whole like thing that's happening on X, where like South Koreans are saying racist stuff about Southeast Asians based on like how they look. They're calling us monkeys. They're talking about how poor we are, all this. How do you think that these K-pop fans, which by the way, this happened at a K-pop concert, okay? The K-pop fan, the K-pop person said it to them. How do you think that they really feel about Black people naturally, given that Black people are just naturally melanated? But when you guys are saying on here, right, when Asian Americans and Black Americans are trying to talk together about like how we can exhibit changes and stuff, Black Americans exhibit racism from beauty stores. Who do you think own these beauty stores? Vietnamese people got the nail salons. My people, Chinese Cambodians, we got the donut shops, or we got the Chinese fast foods. Now, I don't know how much more proof do you guys need in order to take accountability to understand that you cannot appreciate Black culture and give enough credit to the Black American community. Like, you cannot pay them or credit them enough when your country is quite literally racist and you guys discriminate. Like, I don't know how much more we can prove to you so that you can hold that accountability.
So I'm gonna give you another update. Okay, so now the Seablings are calling the Koreans the wannabe Americans of Asia. And I'm gonna add more fuel to this fucking fire because you know what? Fuck it. I love mess. Okay, so this is how I view it. Okay, the Japanese are the white men of Asia. Okay, they committed genocide against Chinese people, against South Koreans, and against a lot of Southeast Asian people. Okay, keep that in mind. And then South Koreans are the white women of Asia, okay? They are the white women of Asia. They live in their victimhood, okay? They own it. They own that victimhood, okay? They own it like a fucking trophy, okay? They will talk about what the Japanese did to them, but they will completely forget about what happened to the Chinese and what happened to the Southeast Asians. So they're like constantly in like their victimhood. And then on top of that, they also harm. So they're also the abuser. So they're the victim and the abuser, right? And we know that's how white women are. So South Koreans are also the abusers because they've committed mass atrocities against Vietnamese people during the American War. Like, they raped and murdered us. Like, they genocided us too during that time. Like, it wasn't just the Americans. So there's that as well. And they like to fly over to Vietnam. Like, they settle down in Vietnam. There's a whole like district in one, I don't remember which city of Vietnam, but there's a whole district that's a Korean district, and they will like open up shops and only let Korean people in. It's a whole ass thing. So yeah, I just wanted to say that South Koreans are the white women of Asia, and you can't change my mind on that. And I don't give a fuck if anyone gets mad at me for it, because like I said, I am a fucking messy ass bitch.
I'm in Asian people's business again, but you know what? The door was open, and who am I not to take a little looky look? So apparently, it is literally all of the Southeast Asian like countries against South Korea, and they're getting ate up. They are getting ate up on Twitter. It's like a full-on war, and apparently, it all started like the context was someone from Korea had went to a concert in Malaysia, and they had brought a professional camera. And so people was telling them, hey, you know, in Malaysia, you can't do that. That's not a rule. You can't do that. And the Korean was like, well, you can do that in Korea. And they was like, okay, well, you're not in Korea, you're in Malaysia. And then apparently they just devoted into a bunch of racism, just stereotypicals about Malaysian. And so the Malaysians is like, hold on, bitch. And so they started going off. And maybe when I say the insults are insulting, so if you don't know, context, again, South Korea is really known of like plastic surgery. They're like the capital, like the country capital of like plastic surgery. It's not uncommon, like after high school, that girls will get like double eyelid surgery, they'll get like nose jobs, they'll get like their chin done, they'll get their lips done. It's just apparently it's a common occurrence, right? And so they are going in. So like a lot of Koreans are kind of being more racist, and then the others, oh, they being creative. Like somebody literally said, you know, we can't criticize God's creation, but we can criticize the doctor's creation. And of course, South Koreans don't have pimples. Pimples don't grow on plastic. And then someone said, you know, I tell you to go jump into the ocean, but the ocean already has a microplastic problem. You shouldn't add to it. Baby, when I say they are coming in hot.
As a seabling that rolled up for Malaysia, I'll be sat here until further notice. There's a creator, her. She is agreeing with us. She's South Korean, and she's agreeing with us. I think her video is one of the videos that is the reason why I found out about this whole seabling versus South Korea thing, right? In her comments, she's getting attacked by our people just because she's South Korean. Don't do that. Don't attack people because they're South Korean. Let's focus on the problems. Let's focus on the South Koreans that are giving us problems. We need to redirect validated anger to where it needs to be. Also, South Koreans, don't agree with this. Don't agree with me. I just need my people to agree with me. We take it up with our own people. Don't be in the comments telling me something.
Hey, this is to the Koreans. You know, with our discourse with the seablings, you guys are wrong, okay? You guys are wrong. First of all, my fellow Koreans, why the fuck are you guys victimizing yourselves online? You guys were wrong for bringing a huge DSLR camera to a concert that you're not supposed to. And secondly, you wanted to victimize yourselves online and then garner sympathy from people. Thirdly, we have Samsung like phones. These phones can zoom in on a lot of things. My best friend has sent me videos and pictures of the fucking moon, and I can see all the fucking craters. It is that good. And Samsung phones can basically be, it has enough processing power that could be a fucking computer, which is insane to me. So yeah, you don't need a DSLR camera. And then, you know, the next thing you guys want to do is double down. And how did you guys double down? By saying the most derogatory and racist shit to the seablings. So it tells me that you guys are immature, can't take feedback, and then don't want to take any corrective action because you don't think you're wrong. But you guys are so wrong in this situation, and it's not okay. So yes, I'm siding with the Seablings. And those of you who are siding with the Koreans and harassing my fellow like Seabling mutuals on here, I will find you. I will find you. But with that, Koreans are so wrong in this situation, and we all need to work on going to therapy. We have a lot of generational trauma that we need to deal with, especially because like we were 100 years ago, we were still occupied by Japan. Just think about it. My grandparents were born in the 30s, 1930s, sorry. So like, and my grandpa passed away several years ago, and he died with a lot of secrets, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, things he didn't want to share with me or my other siblings, his grandkids, because he didn't want us to go through those things. It's somewhere in there in me. I get sensitive about certain things, and I know it. But if we can't handle, like, do introspective work or therapy and like take feedback or criticism, it puts us in a place where we're just gonna be the victims mentally. And it creates toxicity, and then we're on the pipeline for narcissism as a collective. And I think we're almost there because we're on the level of toxic that a lot of other Asians don't want to be associated with, to be honest. So I'm just gonna let that sink in, you know? As a Korean American, I do have a hard time getting along with other Koreans because of this mentality. We're not better than everyone else. We should not be white adjacent, but I know there are Koreans that are white adjacent, Korean Americans. They also perpetuate racism and colorism and classism, just like our Koreans back in the homeland.
So you might be unaware, but there's currently like a little social media war going on with Southeast Asia and Korea. Currently, there are, I want to assume, maybe millions, if not hundreds of thousands, of Southeast Asians identifying as C-bling and calling Koreans as K-nets. Even though initially they're only going after certain types of Koreans in Korea, it's blown up on X, and now it's everywhere, where if you even look Korean, you're gonna get attacked. I, for one, am constantly, just check out my latest post, the ones with like 20K plus, they're all C-blings. So why do Koreans from around the world also get thrown into this kind of mess? I feel as though there are many, many, many siblings that aren't racist and are just angry at the Koreans that look down upon them. But I also believe there's a lot of them that just have a lot of hate that want to just express it right now, and they're just attacking anyone. There's also a language barrier, and so the ones that are not even from Korea are trying to explain this doesn't help anyone. This only creates more tension for your people, but it seems we're at a point where just people are just flinging hate. From videos to lives, especially my lives, they're coming in and saying a lot of different racist stuff. But this is where it kind of gets kind of sad. Just as if I were to get arrested by an ICE agent that was Asian, I would look at them and be like, what? Siblings are also Asians, so when they're telling me to open my eyes, when they say speak English, when my accent is like this, it kind of seems dumb. And I don't know if you know what it's like being in America. Our racism is much more harsh. So you're just kind of embarrassing your guys. I don't know, like, you know, a bunch of Asians coming over here to America to make fun of me for being Asian is I understand your guys' anger. I really do, because just all around the world, it's usually northern countries that look down upon the southern ones. North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Eastern Asia, Southern Asia. So I understand, but not every single one of us is racist. You can't go after every single Korean or anyone that looks like a Korean, because that's also racist. Even if you're saying this is just for fun, at the end of it, you might cause damage to your own people, because now other people are going to be looking at this. And if other people are looking at this, they're all just going to kind of wonder what's up with you guys. I highly suggest maybe making content, maybe taking a stance that isn't about attacking individuals that aren't even aware. There's so many Koreans or even Korean looking people or Korean associated people that are being attacked that have no idea why they're being attacked. And if this is your way of spreading awareness, it seems to be the worst way to do it. Just saying. I'd also like to add that they're going around making you choose. Either you gotta be on Seablings side or KNET side. I feel like that's very... In America, there's already division. So for you guys to cause more division, it doesn't sit very well with Americans in general, because we're learning over here that it's not about choosing which side you're on. It's about finding out the truth and going after the people who are responsible for the problems we have today. If you can get past the way I look and realize we're just all human, that is probably where we can start talking. And in case you're not involved in any of this and you've just been wondering what's going on, that is what's been going on. A politician, K-pop artist, said some things that kind of upset the Southeast Asian countries, and now they're coming after all Koreans, which really doesn't seem fair. It's kind of, but I'm just over here in America doing my American things, so I appreciate it. And apparently that's even worse, being American and Korean, double racist now.